Hi, 8th grade. So this is my last video for this week. It's just how to complete the Counting Atoms worksheet. I'm going to do 2 examples with you so that way you get an idea of what to do. So I'll just go right into it. So all you really need to do is say what type of atom it is. So what type of atom is the element that it is and how many of each atom there is after you do any math if you need to, and then tell me the total number of atoms all added together. So our first one here, I am going to do it on a piece of paper and then it'll be filled out on here when we get back. Alright, so this is our first example, and I'm using a scratch piece of paper, so I'm sorry if you see what it says on the other side. It just says Missy Wall, so I'm going to just use this piece of paper so that way I'm not wasting too much around my house. Alright, so our first example, we have CuSO4. So this one's pretty simple because we don't have any coefficient, and we don't have any parentheses, so this one is just a matter of just writing everything down and looking at the subscript for each element. So our first one is Cu, that is copper. So Cu. Next we have S. And then O. So we just need to look at the subscripts here. So behind Cu, there's no subscript. And remember, if there's no subscript, that means that it's 1. So Cu, we have 1. And then S, again, we have no subscript here, so that's also going to be 1. And then behind O, we have that 4. So that 4 tells us what it is. We have 4. So in total, we have 6. So first one's pretty easy. Alright, so back from our first example. So next we're going to move on to this one here. So now we have 3CaNO3 2. So I'm going to go to the paper and I will be back. Alright, for our second example here, this is where it tends to get a little bit harder because not only do we have our coefficient here, but we also have the parentheses. So first, let's write down all of our atoms. So we have Ca, which is calcium. We have N, nitrogen, and then O, which is oxygen. So when I have something like this, again, let's first write down all the subscripts that we have. So behind Ca, there's nothing. So we have to assume it's 1. So Ca is 1. N, right now, there is nothing, so N has 1 for its subscript. And then oxygen, we have a 3 here. So 1, 1, 3. Next, let's just focus on the things that are inside the parentheses. So remember, if we have a parentheses, this number out here is going to be multiplied into the numbers inside of it. So I'm going to do a multiplication symbol next to nitrogen and oxygen because those two things are inside of the parentheses and will be affected by this 2 out here. So we have 1 times 2 and then 3 times 2. If you want to multiply it out, you can, or you can wait till we also add in the the coefficient, but I'm going to do that now. So we currently have 2 oxygen and 2 nitrogen and 6 oxygen. So now let's do this coefficient. So remember, the coefficient is applied to everything in this formula. So we take this calcium multiplied by 3, this now new 2 for nitrogen, and we're also going to multiply that by 3, and then our 6 for our oxygen will also be multiplied by 3. So the numbers that we have now, for calcium, 1 times 3 is 3. For nitrogen, 2 times 3 is 6. And then for oxygen, 6 times 3 is 18. Now we just need to add everything up. So 18 plus 3 is 21, plus 6 is 27. So we have 27 atoms total. Alright, so that example is done now, and I have the work on here. So what I would recommend doing is kind of like what I just did, and do it on a piece of paper first and then put your answers in here, so that way you know you're doing your work correctly. If you can do it mentally, that's totally fine as well, but that's just how I prefer to do it. So I'm going to have you do the rest of these now. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to do. And if you understand how to do it, like I said, it will be pretty easy for you. So that's the assignment that you have to do this week. If you didn't do it, make sure you do the Google form and you do the quizzes. You should have hopefully done those before you did this, but if you didn't, please make sure those get done. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know. All right, see you guys.